Emma Carter never expected her boss, billionaire CEO Nathan Sterling, to see her at Hope Street Kitchen, let alone offer her a life-changing opportunity. But when secrets, high society pressures, and unexpected feelings collide, will Emma risk everything for love? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The sound of ringing phones and clicking keyboards filled the air at Sterling Enterprises. Emma Carter tucked a strand of brown hair behind her ear as she sorted through the morning mail. At 32, she wasn't where she'd hoped to be in life, but she was grateful for her job as an administrative assistant. The steady paycheck meant she could keep a roof over her head and help her younger brother Liam, who was struggling to finish college after their parents' death 3 years ago. "Emma, did you finish the Henderson report?" asked Diane, her supervisor, walking briskly past her desk. "Yes, I left it on your desk this morning," Emma replied with a smile, though Diane had already disappeared around the corner. That was life at Sterling Enterprises, fast-paced and impersonal. Everyone too busy climbing the corporate ladder to notice each other, Emma checked her watch. 5 more hours until she could leave for her real passion, volunteering at Hope Street Kitchen, the homeless shelter where she served meals 3 evenings a week. On the top floor of the building, Nathan Sterling stood at his window, looking down at the city he'd conquered. At 40, he was one of the most successful businessmen in the country. His dark hair was touched with silver at the temples, and his blue eyes held the confidence of a man who knew his worth. Sterling Enterprises was his life's work, built from nothing after he'd pulled himself off the streets 20 years ago. A fact known by very few. "Nathan, the board is waiting," said his executive assistant Michael from the doorway. Nathan nodded and straightened his tie. "Tell them I'll be right there." The boardroom fell silent as Nathan entered. These meetings were the same. Profit margins, expansion plans, acquisitions. He'd mastered the game of business, yet lately he felt empty. Something was missing, and he couldn't put his finger on what. "Our community outreach numbers are down," said Rebecca, the head of public relations. "We need something genuine, not just another check to write off on taxes." Nathan raised an eyebrow. "Suggestions?" "There's a shelter in the East District," Rebecca continued. "Hope Street Kitchen. They do good work with limited resources. Might be worth looking into." Nathan made a note. "I'll check it personally." Later that evening, Emma stirred a large pot of soup at Hope Street Kitchen. Her work clothes were replaced by jeans and a simple t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. "Emma, you're an angel," said Joe, an older man who'd been homeless since losing his job 2 years ago. "Nobody makes soup like you," Emma smiled. "It's just canned soup with extra vegetables, Joe." "It's the love you put in it," he insisted, moving along as the line continued. She didn't notice the tall figure, observing from the entrance. Nathan had come dressed in casual clothes, a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. He wanted to see the place without the fanfare that usually accompanied his visits. The shelter was clean, but clearly struggling. Paint peeled from the walls, and the kitchen equipment looked decades old. Yet there was a warmth here that surprised him, and at the center of it all was a woman whose smile transformed the dreary room. "Can I help you?" asked an older woman, approaching Nathan. "I'm just looking," he said. "Is this place always this busy?" "Every night," she replied. "I'm Martha, the director. Are you in need of services?" Nathan shook his head. "No, I'm considering making a donation." "Who's that woman serving soup?" "That's Emma. Volunteers 3 nights a week, never misses. Works full-time too, poor thing. But you'd never hear her complain." Nathan watched as Emma bent down to talk to a young boy, making him laugh despite his tattered clothes. Something about her struck him, a genuine kindness that couldn't be faked. The next morning, Emma rushed into the office nearly late after staying up to help her brother with a term paper. "Emma?" called Diane. "Mr. Sterling wants to see you." Emma froze. "The Mr. Sterling? Why would he want to see me?" Diane shrugged. "Top floor, don't keep him waiting." Emma's heart pounded as the elevator climbed. In 5 years at the company, she'd never even seen Nathan Sterling in person. What could he possibly want with her? Nathan was reviewing files when his assistant showed. "Emma in." He looked up and recognition flashed in his eyes. "Miss Carter, thank you for coming. Please sit down." Emma perched nervously on the edge of the chair. "Have I done something wrong, Mr. Sterling?" Nathan smiled. "Not at all. I've been reviewing personnel files looking for someone special for a new position." He didn't mention that he'd specifically requested her file after seeing her at the shelter. "I visited Hope Street Kitchen last night," he continued, watching her reaction. Emma's eyes widened. "You were there. I didn't see you." "I prefer to observe without being observed sometimes," he said. "I was impressed with what I saw, especially your work there." Emma shifted uncomfortably. "Thank you, but I don't understand what that has to do with my job here." Nathan leaned forward. "I'm creating a new community outreach division. We have the resources to make real change, but we need someone who understands the real needs, not just charity for show. I want you to head it." Emma's mouth fell open. "Me? But I'm just an assistant. I don't have the experience." "You have exactly the experience I need," Nathan interrupted. "You know the community. You care. The rest can be learned." "This is unexpected," Emma stammered. "The position comes with a significant salary increase, of course," Nathan added. "Take the weekend to think about it." Still in shock, Emma nodded. Hand stood to leave. "One more thing, Miss Carter," Nathan said. "Why do you spend so much time at the shelter?" Emma paused at the door. "Because everyone deserves to be seen, Mr. Sterling, even when the rest of the world looks away." Her words stayed with Nathan long after she left. That night at her small apartment, Emma told her brother about the strange meeting. "Are you kidding?" Liam exclaimed. "This is your big break, Em. You've been stuck in that assistant job forever." Emma paced the worn carpet. "It doesn't make sense. Why me? And how did he even know about my volunteer work?" "Who cares?" Liam said. "This could change everything for us." Emma thought about the shelter, about the new stove they desperately needed, about Joe and the others who counted on meals there. With this new salary, she could do so much more to help. "Maybe you're right," she said finally. "But something about it feels strange." On Monday morning, Emma returned to Nathan's office with her answer. "I'll accept the position," she said, "on one condition." Nathan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Few people dared to give him conditions. "I want to know why you really chose me," Emma said. "There must be dozens of more qualified people." Nathan considered her for a moment. "Have dinner with me tonight and I'll tell you." Emma blinked in surprise. "Dinner? With you?" "To discuss the position," Nathan clarified. "Unless you'd prefer a conference room?" Emma shook her head. "Dinner is fine, but this is professional, right?" Nathan's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Completely professional." That evening, Emma found herself at La Mer, one of the city's most expensive restaurants. She felt out of place in her simple dress among the wealthy patrons. Nathan was already waiting, looking somehow different outside the office. More human, less the corporate titan everyone feared. "You look uncomfortable," he observed as she sat down. "I've never been somewhere this fancy," Emma admitted. "Would you prefer somewhere else? We can leave." The genuine concern in his voice surprised her. "No, it's fine, but you promised to tell me why you chose me for this position." Nathan took a sip of water. "When I was 16, I was homeless," he said quietly. "For almost a year, I lived on the streets, not far from Hope Street, actually." Emma's eyes widened. "I had no idea." "Almost no one does," Nathan continued. "Places like Hope Street Kitchen saved my life. Someone gave me a chance when I needed it most, and that's why I built Sterling Enterprises. But somewhere along the way, I forgot what really matters." He looked directly at her. "When I saw you at the shelter, I recognized something I lost long ago. You have compassion without pity, Emma. That's rare, and it's exactly what this new division needs." Emma studied his face, searching for any sign of deception. "Why keep your past a secret?" "In business, perception is everything," Nathan said. "But maybe it's time for that to change, with your help." For the first time, Emma saw Nathan. Sterling really saw him. Not the powerful CEO, but a man who'd known struggle and fought his way out. "I still think there are people more qualified," she said. "Maybe," Nathan admitted. "But none with your heart." Their conversation flowed more easily after that. They talked about the shelter, about her brother, about his vision for the outreach program. By the time dessert arrived, Emma felt like she was seeing the real Nathan Sterling, and she liked what she saw. "So, do we have a deal?" Nathan asked as they left the restaurant. Emma nodded. "Yes, but I want to be clear. I won't be anyone's charity case. I'll earn my place." "I would expect nothing less," Nathan said, his eyes lingering on hers a moment too long. As her taxi pulled away, Emma felt both excited and nervous. This opportunity could change everything, for her, for Liam, for the people at Hope Street. But the way Nathan had looked at her, the warmth in his eyes when he talked about her work at the shelter, that might change everything in a way she hadn't expected at all. Emma's first day in her new position started with a flutter of nerves. She'd traded her modest desk in the general office area for a spacious corner office on the executive floor. The nameplate on her door read, "Emma Carter, Director of Community Outreach." It still didn't feel real. "Too much?" Nathan asked, appearing in her doorway. Emma turned, startled. "Mr. Sterling, I mean Nathan," he corrected with a smile. "We're colleagues now, not boss and assistant." "Nathan," she repeated, the name feeling strange on her lips. "It's a lot to take in," he nodded. "You'll adjust. I've set up meetings for you with the PR team and finance this morning. By the end of the week, I want a preliminary proposal for our first major outreach project." "So soon?" Emma's eyes widened. "You already know what's needed," Nathan said confidently. "Trust your instincts." As he walked away, Emma couldn't help noticing how different he seemed from the cold, distant CEO everyone feared. With her, he was almost warm. Word of Emma's promotion spread quickly. Most people were confused. How had an administrative assistant jumped so many levels? By lunchtime, the rumors started. "Did you hear?" whispered Vanessa from marketing to her friend in the break room, not noticing Emma filling her coffee cup nearby. "Carter must be sleeping with Sterling. Why else would he give her that position?" Emma's cheeks burned, but she held her head high as she walked past them. "Actually," she said calmly, "Mr. Sterling visited Hope Street Kitchen where I volunteer. He created this position because he believes in community service." She smiled tightly. "But thanks for the concern about my qualifications." Back in her office, Emma tried to focus on work, but the encounter left her shaken. She'd expected some resistance, but not outright accusations. A knock on her door revealed Rebecca from PR, a sleek blonde in her 40s with a reputation for ruthless efficiency. "I hear I'm supposed to help you learn the ropes," Rebecca said, her smile not reaching her eyes. "Though I'm still trying to figure out why Sterling created this position when my department already handles charitable giving." Emma straightened her shoulders. "I think Nathan wants a more hands-on approach. Actually, I'd love your input on something." By showing respect for Rebecca's experience, Emma managed to turn a potential enemy into a cautious ally. By the end of their meeting, Rebecca seemed less hostile, even impressed with some of Emma's ideas. "You're not what I expected," Rebecca admitted as she gathered her notes. "I get that a lot," Emma replied with a small smile. That evening, Emma visited Hope Street Kitchen, where Martha greeted her with excitement. "Emma sees, Joe told me you had big news, a promotion." "It's complicated," Emma said, tying on her apron, "but I think I can do a lot of good in this new role." As she served meals, Emma noticed Nathan standing in the same spot as before, watching. This time she approached him. "Checking up on me?" she asked. Nathan shook his head. "Just reminding myself why this matters." Together, they served meals side by side. Nathan seemed different here, more relaxed, less the untouchable CEO. When an elderly woman thanked him for the meal, his eyes softened in a way Emma had never seen at the office. "You're good at this," Emma observed. "I had practice once," he replied quietly. Later, as they walked to their cars, Nathan asked, "How was your first day?" Emma hesitated. "Challenging, some people think I didn't earn this position." Nathan's expression darkened. "Who said that?" "It doesn't matter," Emma replied. "I'll prove them wrong with results." He studied her for a moment. "You know, most people would have complained or asked me to intervene." "I'm not most people," Emma said simply. "No," Nathan agreed, his gaze lingering on her face. "You're definitely not." The next morning, Diane, Emma's former supervisor, stopped by her office. "Nice view," she commented, looking around. Must be nice to skip all those years of hard work the rest of us put in. Emma set down her pen. What do you want, Diane? Just wondering how long this will last, Diane said with a shrug. Men like Sterling get bored easily. One day you're special, the next you're yesterday's news. After Diane left, Emma sat back in her chair, troubled. What if she was right? What if Nathan's interest, professional or otherwise, was just temporary? She pushed the thought aside and focused on her proposal. After researching all night, she'd identified 3 key areas where Sterling Enterprises could make an immediate impact: job training programs for the homeless, affordable housing initiatives, and emergency food services. When she presented her ideas to Nathan the next day, his eyes lit up with approval. This is exactly what I was hoping for, he said. Practical solutions, not just throwing money at problems. Emma felt a rush of pride. I'd like to start with Hope Street Kitchen. They need basic renovations and new equipment. Done, Nathan said immediately. What else? I want to create a job placement program. Many of the people at the shelter have skills but need a chance. Nathan leaned back in his chair, studying her. You really care about this, don't you? Emma challenged. I used to, he admitted. But it's easy to get disconnected when you're sitting in offices like this all day. Their eyes met, and Emma felt that strange flutter again. There was something about the way Nathan looked at her, like he was seeing parts of herself she usually kept hidden. The moment was interrupted by Michael, Nathan's assistant, announcing his next appointment. We'll continue this discussion tomorrow, Nathan said, rising. Dinner? To talk about the budget for these projects? Emma hesitated. Is that appropriate? Given what people are already saying? Nathan's expression hardened. I don't run my company based on gossip. Neither do I, Emma replied firmly. But perception matters. How about lunch instead? In the company dining room where everyone can see it's strictly business. A smile tugged at Nathan's lips. Protecting my reputation, Miss Carter. And mine, she added. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Emma threw herself into her new role, working long hours to prove herself. The renovation of Hope Street Kitchen began, with Nathan insisting on being personally involved. They spent many evenings there together, planning the new layout, choosing equipment. Emma's brother Liam noticed the change in her. You mention this Nathan guy in every conversation, he teased one evening at their apartment. Something going on I should know about? It's not like that, Emma insisted, though her blush suggested otherwise. He's my boss. Uh-huh, Liam said, skeptically. So why does your face light up every time you talk about him? Emma threw a pillow at him. Focus on your studies, Nosy. But Liam's words stayed with her. Was she developing feelings for Nathan? It would be foolish, she told herself. Men like him didn't end up with women like her. The renovation unveiling at Hope Street Kitchen was set for Friday evening. Emma had worked tirelessly to make it perfect. New industrial stoves, refrigerators, tables, chairs, everything the shelter needed. When Nathan arrived, Emma couldn't help noticing how handsome he looked in casual clothes. He'd become a regular at the shelter, and the staff and homeless guests treated him like one of their own now. Nervous? He asked, standing beside her as the ribbon cutting approached. A little, Emma admitted. This is just the beginning, but it matters so much. Nathan's hand brushed against hers briefly. You made this happen, Emma. Be proud. The event was a success, with local news coverage and several city officials attending. Emma gave a short speech thanking Sterling Enterprises for their commitment to the community. As she finished speaking, she noticed a striking woman entering the shelter. Tall, elegant, with perfectly styled blonde hair. The woman moved directly toward Nathan, kissing him on both cheeks. Nathan, darling, the woman purred loudly enough for Emma to hear. This is where you've been hiding. Emma watched as Nathan's expression changed, becoming more guarded. Victoria, I didn't expect you. Clearly, Victoria replied, glancing around. The shelter with barely disguised distaste. Your secretary said I might find you here. Really, Nathan, a homeless shelter. What would your father say? Emma stepped forward, extending her hand. I'm Emma Carter, Director of Community Outreach at Sterling Enterprises. Victoria's eyes swept over Emma, taking in her simple dress. "Victoria Winters, Nathan and I have known each other forever, haven't we, darling? Our families always assumed we'd end up together." Emma felt something cold settle in her stomach. Nathan had never mentioned Victoria. "Emma is the driving force behind our new community initiatives," Nathan said, his voice unusually tight. Victoria linked her arm through Nathan's. "How charitable of you to notice. Now, I've made dinner reservations at Marcel's. The Andersons are expecting us." Emma saw the conflict in Nathan's eyes. "You should go," she said quietly. "We're finished here." "Emma," Nathan began. "It's fine," she insisted. "This is your world after all." As Nathan left with Victoria, Emma felt foolish. She'd allowed herself to believe that Nathan saw her as special, that their connection was unique. But watching him with Victoria, so obviously from his social circle, was a harsh reminder of reality. Later that night, as Emma was closing up the shelter, she heard footsteps behind her. "You left," she said without turning, knowing it was Nathan. "I shouldn't have gone with her," he said, coming to stand beside her. "Victoria and I dated years ago. It didn't work out." "You don't owe me an explanation," Emma said, finally facing him. "We're colleagues, that's all." Nathan stepped closer. "Is that all we are, Emma?" Her heart pounded. "It's all we should be." "That's not what I asked," he said softly. The air between them seemed charged with unspoken feelings. For a moment, Emma thought he might kiss her. Instead, Nathan's phone rang, Victoria calling. The moment shattered. "I should go," Emma said quickly. "It's late." As she drove home, Emma realized she was in dangerous territory. She was falling for Nathan Sterling, a man from a completely different world, a man who could offer her a job on a whim and take it away just as easily. What she didn't know was that Nathan stood in the empty shelter long after she left, Victoria's call unanswered, wondering when Emma Carter had become so important to him and what he was going to do about it. The weeks following the Hope Street kitchen renovation brought a flurry of positive press for Sterling Enterprises. Emma found herself in the spotlight, giving interviews and representing the company at charity events. Her natural warmth and genuine passion for the work made her the perfect spokeswoman. "You've created quite the media, darling," Rebecca told Nathan as they watched Emma charming a group of potential donors at a fundraiser. "The board is impressed." Nathan's eyes followed Emma across the room. "She's the real deal. That's why people respond to her." "And why you respond to her?" Rebecca asked with a knowing look. Nathan shot her a warning glance but didn't deny it. Across the room, Emma was working hard to secure funding for their next project, a job training center. She'd thrown herself into work, trying to ignore her. Growing feelings for Nathan and the confusion after seeing him with Victoria. "Miss Carter?" called a deep voice. Emma turned to see Edward Winters, a distinguished older man she recognized from the board of directors. "May I have a word?" Emma excused herself from the donors. "Of course, Mr. Winters. I understand you've been making quite an impression," he said, studying her carefully. "Nathan speaks highly of you." "That's kind of him," Emma replied. "I'm passionate about the work we're doing." "Yes, I can see that." Edward's smile didn't reach his eyes. "My daughter Victoria mentioned meeting you. She and Nathan have a complicated history." Emma maintained her professional smile, though her stomach tightened. "I don't think that's any of my business, sir." Edward stepped closer. "Let me be direct, Miss Carter. Nathan has certain obligations to his family name, to this company. His father was my closest friend. We always hoped Victoria and Nathan would reconcile." "Again, not my business," Emma said firmly. "Perhaps not," Edward agreed, "but your sudden promotion has raised eyebrows. It would be unfortunate if people thought Nathan's personal interests were influencing his business decisions." Emma felt her cheeks flush. "My work speaks for itself, Mr. Winters." "I'm sure it does," Edward replied smoothly. "I'd hate to see Nathan's judgment questioned by the board, or to see you hurt when he inevitably returns to where he belongs." Before Emma could respond, Nathan appeared at her side. "Edward," he said coolly, "I hope you're not monopolizing my outreach director." Edward smiled thinly. "Just getting acquainted." Your father would be proud of your charitable efforts, Nathan. With a meaningful look at Emma, he walked away. What was that about? Nathan asked. Emma shook her head. Nothing important. She wouldn't tell him about Edward's thinly veiled threats. I should get back to the donors. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. Edward's words kept replaying in her mind. Was she just a temporary diversion for Nathan? A charitable project before he returned to women like Victoria? Her phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. You were amazing tonight. Breakfast meeting tomorrow, 8 a.m. at Milo's? Emma sighed. These casual meetings were becoming dangerous for her heart. The next morning at Milo's, a small cafe away from the office, Nathan looked tired but pleased. The event raised over $2 million, he said, sliding a folder across the table. Your job training center is fully funded. Emma's eyes widened. Really? That's incredible. You made it happen, Nathan said, his eyes warm. You've changed the company, Emma, changed me. The intensity of his gaze made her look away. I should thank you for the opportunity. Is everything okay? Nathan asked, noticing her distance. You seem off. Emma hesitated, then decided honesty was best. I met Victoria's father last night. He had some interesting things to say about you two. Nathan's expression darkened. Edward needs to mind his own business. Is it true? Emma asked quietly. Are you and Victoria meant to be together? According to our families, yes, Nathan admitted. Victoria and I dated years ago. It ended badly, but our families never gave up hope. I see, Emma said, trying to keep her voice even. No, you don't, Nathan said firmly. I don't love Victoria. I never did, not really. We made sense on paper. Same background, same social circle. But that's all. Emma looked down at her coffee. Nathan, I think we need to be more careful about spending time together outside work. His face fell. Because of what Edward said? Because of what everyone is saying, Emma corrected. People think I got this job because of personal reasons. I need to prove them wrong. I don't care what people think, Nathan said, frustration evident in his voice. But I do, Emma insisted. This work matters too much. I can't let gossip undermine it. Nathan studied her for a long moment, then nodded reluctantly. If that's what you want. It wasn't what she wanted at all, but Emma knew it was necessary. The next few weeks were strictly professional between them. Emma focused on launching the job training center, while Nathan was occupied with a potential business acquisition. They saw each other mainly in meetings, always surrounded by others. Emma threw herself into her work, determined to prove her worth. The job training center opened with great success, already placing 15 formerly homeless people in stable jobs. Emma made sure Nathan got the credit publicly while she worked behind the scenes. One evening, as Emma was working late, Liam called in a panic. Em, I need help, he said, his voice tight with pain. I fell on the stairs at school. My leg, I think it's broken. Emma rushed to the hospital, finding Liam in the emergency room with a serious fracture, requiring surgery. Insurance only covers part of it, the doctor explained gently. The rest will need to be paid before we can proceed. Emma's heart sank. Even with her new salary, she didn't have that kind of money saved yet. How much? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. When the doctor named the amount, Emma felt the room spin. It was more than she made in 3 months. I'll figure it out, she promised Liam, stepping into the hallway to make calls. She tried applying for emergency credit, calling distant relatives, even looking into loans. Nothing worked. As the hours passed, Liam's pain worsened. In desperation, Emma called the one person she knew could help. Nathan answered immediately. Emma, it's midnight. I'm sorry, she said, her voice breaking. It's my brother. He's hurt and I hate asking, but I need help. Where are you? Nathan asked without hesitation. Mercy Hospital, but Nathan, it's a lot of money. I'm on my way, he said and hung up. 30 minutes later, Nathan strode into the hospital, still in his suit from a business dinner. Without a word, he pulled Emma into a tight hug. Tell me, what happened? He said. After Emma explained, Nathan immediately spoke with the hospital administration. Within an hour, Liam was being prepared for surgery, with Nathan covering all costs. I'll pay you back, Emma insisted as they sat in the waiting room. Every penny. Don't be ridiculous, Nathan said. This is what friends do. Friends, Emma repeated, the word feeling insufficient. Nathan took her hand. Emma, Nathan, called a familiar voice. They turned to see Victoria approaching, elegant even at this late hour. There you are. You disappeared from the dinner. Emma quickly pulled her hand away. Victoria's eyes narrowed, taking in their closeness. Is everything all right? Emma's brother had an accident, Nathan explained. I came to help. How charitable, Victoria said coolly. But the Andersons were disappointed when you left. Edward had important business to discuss. Some things are more important than business, Nathan replied. Victoria looked between them, understanding dawning in her eyes. I see. Well, I hope your brother recovers quickly, Miss Carter. She touched Nathan's arm. Call me tomorrow, darling. We have things to discuss. After Victoria left, an uncomfortable silence fell between them. You should go, Emma said finally. The surgery will take hours. I'm staying, Nathan said firmly. Why? Emma asked, the word barely audible. Nathan met her eyes. You know why. They stayed through the night, waiting for news of Liam's surgery. By morning, exhausted but relieved at the successful operation, something had shifted between them. When Emma finally got home to shower and change, she found a message from Rebecca. Emergency at the office. Board meeting called. Your presence requested immediately. Emma rushed to Sterling Enterprises, where Rebecca met her in the lobby. What's happening? Emma asked. Edward Winters happened, Rebecca said grimly. He's questioning the funding allocation for your programs, suggesting Nathan's judgment is compromised. Emma's heart sank. Because of me. Not just you, Rebecca admitted. Nathan's been acting differently for months now, making decisions that benefit people over profits. The old guard doesn't like it. The boardroom fell silent as Emma entered. Nathan sat at the head of the table, his expression stormy. Edward. Winters sat to his right, looking satisfied. Miss Carter, Edward said, thank you for joining us. We were discussing the unusual amount of resources being directed to your department. Emma straightened her shoulders. My department has generated more positive press than any other initiative in company history. Our programs are changing lives. Noble, Edward said dismissively, but this is a business, not a charity. It can be both, Emma replied. Every person we help through our programs becomes a customer, an employee or a champion for Sterling Enterprises. That's good business. Several board members nodded in agreement. Edward changed tactics. And what about your relationship with the CEO? Does that influence funding decisions? A tense silence fell over the room. Nathan started to speak, but Emma held up her hand. My relationship with Mr. Sterling is professional, she said firmly. But yes, we share a vision for this company as her force for good, not just profit. If that bothers you, perhaps Sterling Enterprises isn't the right investment for you. Edward's face reddened. You dare. She's right, Nathan interrupted, standing. My father built this company to make money. Yes, but also to make a difference. We've forgotten that part. Emma reminded me. He looked around the table. If anyone disagrees with my leadership or vision for this company, you're welcome to sell your shares and invest elsewhere. After a tense discussion, the board voted to continue Emma's programs with the current funding. Edward Winters was the only dissenting vote. As the board members filed out, Nathan caught Emma's arm. That was brave. That was terrifying, she corrected with a shaky laugh. But necessary. We make a good team, Nathan said softly. Emma nodded, but stepped back. I should get back to the hospital. Liam will be waking up. I'll drive you, Nathan offered. In the car, Emma finally asked the question that had been weighing on her mind. Nathan, what are we doing? Victoria clearly expects— I don't care what Victoria expects, Nathan interrupted. Or Edward, or the board, or anyone else. You should, Emma insisted. They're your world. Nathan pulled the car to the side of the road and turned to face her. You're my world now, Emma. These past months, watching you work so passionately, seeing how you care for people most would ignore. You've changed everything. Emma's heart raced. Nathan, I'm falling in love with you, he said simply. And I think you feel the same way. Before Emma could respond, Nathan's phone rang, Edward Winters calling. Nathan ignored it, his eyes never leaving Emma's face. "Say something," he urged. Emma took a deep breath. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Not just of what people will say, but of how much I could lose. This job, the work we're doing, it matters so much." "We won't lose that," Nathan promised. "You don't know that," Emma said. "And there's Victoria." "There is no Victoria," Nathan insisted. "Not for me." As they sat there, the tension between them building, Emma's phone rang. The hospital, Liam. So was awake and asking for her. "I have to go," she said. Nathan nodded and started the car. "We'll continue this later." At the hospital, Emma was shocked to find Victoria sitting by Liam's bedside, chatting amicably. "Emma," Liam called. "Victoria brought me magazines and told me the most interesting stories about Nathan when they were kids." Emma shot Victoria a questioning look. "I thought your brother might like some company," Victoria said smoothly, standing. "Perhaps we could talk outside." In the hallway, Victoria's friendly demeanor vanished. "My father told me about the board meeting. You're quite the fighter." "I was just doing my job," Emma replied. "Let's be honest," Victoria said. "We both know your interest in Nathan goes beyond professional. The question is, how far are you willing to go?" Emma crossed her arms. "What do you mean? Nathan's position is delicate right now. My father controls enough shares to make trouble. If Nathan were to make a personal alliance with our family, that trouble would disappear." Emma felt cold. "So you're talking about marriage?" Victoria smiled thinly. "Nathan and I make sense. We always have. These programs you care about. They'd continue with my full support, I promise. But if you and Nathan pursue whatever this is between you, well, my father can be vindictive." "That's blackmail," Emma said quietly. "That's business," Victoria corrected. "Think about it, Emma. What matters more, your feelings or the work you're doing for all those people who depend on you?" As Victoria walked away, Emma leaned against the wall, feeling the weight of an impossible choice. She loved Nathan. She could admit that to herself now. But was their chance at happiness worth risking everything they'd built? When Nathan arrived at the hospital later, Emma had made her decision, the hardest one of her life. "We need to talk," she said quietly, leading him to a private corner of the waiting room. Nathan took her hands. "Emma, about what I said in the car?" "I can't do this," Emma interrupted, pulling her hands away. "Us. It's too complicated." Nathan's face fell. "What happened? Did Victoria say something to you?" "This isn't about Victoria," Emma lied. "It's about the work we're doing. It's too important to risk for personal feelings." "I don't believe you," Nathan said, searching her face. "Something changed since this morning." Emma steeled herself. "Nothing changed. I just had time to think clearly. We come from different worlds, Nathan. Let's be realistic." "Since when do you care about that?" he demanded. "Since I realized how much is at stake," Emma replied, her voice breaking despite her best efforts. "Please, Nathan, accept this." Nathan stepped back, his expression closing off. "Fine. If that's what you want, I'll see you at the office, Miss Carter." As he walked away, Emma felt her heart breaking, but Victoria's threat echoed in her mind. The work they were doing was changing lives. She couldn't risk that, even for love. What she didn't know was that Nathan had seen Victoria leaving the hospital earlier, and he wasn't about to give up without discovering what had really changed Emma's mind so drastically. The week following Emma's decision was the hardest of her life. At work, Nathan was coldly professional, their interactions limited to necessary meetings. The warmth and connection they'd shared was gone, replaced by formal nods and brief conversations. Liam noticed Emma's sadness when he came home from the hospital. "What happened with you and Nathan?" he asked. "He hasn't visited since that day and you look miserable." Emma forced a smile. "Nothing happened. We're just busy with work." Liam gave her a skeptical look. "You're a terrible liar, Em." "Always have been." "It's complicated," Emma sighed. "Let me guess," Liam said. "It has something to do with that Victoria woman who kept talking about her shared history with Nathan." Emma's head snapped up. What exactly did she say to you? That her father and Nathan's father had always planned for them to marry. That their families had some kind of agreement. Liam shrugged. I thought she was just showing off until I saw your face when you found her in my room. Emma sat heavily on the couch. Victoria threatened to have her father dismantle all our community programs if Nathan and I, if you fell in love, Liam finished, which you already have. Emma covered her face. It doesn't matter now. I ended it before it could really begin. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, Liam said bluntly. You're giving up on something real because of threats from some rich snob? I'm protecting the work that matters, Emma insisted. And what about what matters to you? Liam asked. You've spent your whole life taking care of others, me, the people at the shelter. When are you going to fight for yourself? Emma had no answer. At Sterling Enterprises, Nathan was having his own confrontation. He'd called Victoria to his office, determined to discover what she'd said to Emma. What did you do? He demanded when Victoria arrived. She raised an eyebrow. I have no idea what you're talking about. Emma, Nathan said. She was fine until she spoke with you at the hospital. Suddenly she's ending whatever was between us. What did you say to her? Victoria sighed, examining her manicure. I simply laid out some realities. My father controls significant shares in this company. Your little charity projects continue only with board approval. Nathan's eyes narrowed. You threatened her. I offered her a choice, Victoria corrected. The work she cares about or a doomed romance with you. She chose wisely. Nathan stood, anger radiating from him. You don't get to make those decisions. Not for me, not for her, not for this company. Nathan, be reasonable, Victoria said, her confidence faltering at his anger. Our families have always expected— I don't care what our families expected, Nathan interrupted. This is my life, my company. And Emma is— He paused, realizing the truth he'd been avoiding. Emma is the person I love, the person I want to build a future with. Victoria's face hardened. My father won't be happy. Your father doesn't control me, Nathan said. And after today, he'll have significantly less influence on this company. What does that mean? Victoria asked. Nathan smiled coldly. It means I've been talking to other board members. They support my vision and Emma's. Edward is being voted out at tomorrow's emergency board meeting. Victoria stood, color draining from her face. You can't do that. I already have, Nathan replied. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have someone important to find. Emma was at Hope Street Kitchen, helping to serve the evening meal. Work had been unbearable, with Nathan's distance a constant ache. At least here, surrounded by people who needed her, she could forget for a little while. You look exhausted, Martha commented, handing Emma another tray of food. Just tired, Emma replied with a weak smile. Heartbroken is more like it, Martha said knowingly. What happened with that handsome CEO of yours? Emma sighed. He's not mine, Martha. He never was. Could have fooled me, Martha replied. The way that man looks at you. Before Emma could respond, the shelter door opened and Nathan walked in. His eyes found her immediately. Emma, he called, striding toward her. We need to talk. The kitchen fell silent, everyone watching with interest. I'm working, Emma said, her heart racing despite her efforts to stay calm. It's important, Nathan insisted. Martha took the tray from Emma's hands. Go on, honey, I've got this. Nathan led Emma to a quiet corner of the shelter. Victoria told me what she said to you, he began. Emma tensed. Nathan, she threatened the programs if you pursued a relationship with me, he continued. And you believed her. Her father has significant power on the board, Emma said quietly. Not anymore, Nathan replied. Edward Winters is being removed from the board tomorrow. I've secured enough votes. Emma's eyes widened. You can do that? I can, and I did, Nathan said. No one threatens the people I care about, especially not you. Emma felt a flicker of hope, quickly extinguished by doubt. Even so, Nathan, we come from different worlds. People will always talk, always question why you chose me. I don't care, Nathan said firmly. Do you know what I see when I look at you, Emma? Not someone from a different world. I see the person who reminded me what matters, who saw beyond. The CEO to the person I really am. He took her hands. "The street kid who needed saving once. You've saved me all over again." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Nathan, I love you," he said simply. "Maybe it's too soon, maybe it's complicated, but it's true. And I think you love me too." Emma couldn't deny it anymore. "I do," she whispered. "But I'm afraid." "Of what?" "Of not being enough," she admitted. "Of losing everything we've built if this doesn't work." Nathan shook his head. "The work continues regardless. But I think we'll be stronger together than apart, don't you?" As Emma looked into his eyes, she realized Liam was right. She'd spent her life taking care of others. Maybe it was time to fight for her own happiness. "Yes," she said finally, "I think we would." Nathan pulled her close, and when their lips finally met, the shelter erupted in cheers and applause. Emma broke away, laughing in embarrassment, as she realized everyone had been watching. "Well, it's about time," Martha called, wiping away a tear. 6 months later, Hope Street Kitchen was just one of a dozen successful community centers established by Sterling Enterprises across the city. The job training program had expanded to 3 locations, and Emma's department had tripled in size. Victoria and Edward Winters had sold their shares in the company after Edward's removal from the board. The last Emma heard, they had moved to Europe, where Victoria was dating a French count. Liam had recovered fully from his injury and was finishing his degree with a new direction, social work, inspired by his sister's success. Emma stood in her office looking out at the city. So much had changed in a year. Sometimes she could hardly believe her journey from administrative assistant to respected executive, and from lonely single woman to... "Ready for lunch?" Nathan asked, entering her office. "I thought we could try that new place near the park." Emma smiled, turning to face the man who had changed her life. "Actually, I packed us something. I thought we could eat at the park instead. Enjoy the nice weather." Nathan raised an eyebrow. "You're full of surprises today." In the park, they found a quiet spot under a blooming tree. Emma unpacked sandwiches and fruit, oddly nervous. "Is everything okay?" Nathan asked, noticing her distraction. "You've been quiet all morning." Emma took a deep breath. "I've been thinking about the future, about us." Nathan took her hand. "What about us?" "When we first met, you offered me a chance to change my life," Emma said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "You believed in me when no one else did." "You earned everything you've achieved," Nathan replied. Emma smiled. "Maybe, but you gave me the opportunity. You saw something in me worth believing in." She reached into her bag and pulled out a small box. "Now I'm offering you something." Nathan looked confused as she handed him the box. When he opened it, he found not a ring, but a key. "What's this?" he asked. "A key to my apartment," Emma said. "Well, our apartment, if you want it to be. I know you have that massive penthouse, but I thought maybe we could start fresh. Somewhere that's ours. Not Nathan Sterling, the CEO's place, not Emma Carter, the charity worker's place, just ours." Nathan stared at the key, then at Emma. "You're asking me to move in with you?" Emma nodded. "I know it's not what people expect. They probably think we should have some grand society wedding at the plaza or something. But I don't need that. I just need you." Nathan closed his hand around the key, his eyes suspiciously bright. "I've been carrying something around for weeks, waiting for the right moment." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Emma's breath caught as he opened it, revealing a simple but elegant diamond ring. "I was going to take you to Paris, make some grand gesture," Nathan admitted. "But this is better. This is us." He took her hand. "Emma Carter, will you marry me? Not because it's expected or for show, but because I can't imagine my life without you in it." Tears spilled down Emma's cheeks as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes." As Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger, Emma felt a sense of rightness, of coming home. They'd faced opposition, doubt, and their own fears. But beneath the surface of their different worlds, they'd found what mattered most, a love based on seeing each other for who they truly were. "I'm keeping the key idea," Nathan said, pulling her close. "Our place. Not mine, not yours, ours." Emma laughed through her tears. "I wouldn't have it any other way." A week later, they held a small engagement party at Hope Street Kitchen. Martha had insisted on hosting, and the shelter was transformed with twinkling lights and flowers. The guest list was an unusual mix: corporate executives in designer suits mingling with shelter volunteers and former homeless people who'd found jobs through their programs. Liam acted as unofficial host, telling everyone who would listen how his sister had fallen in love with her boss. "I think your father would be proud," Rebecca told Nathan quietly, as they watched Emma laughing with a group of shelter residents. "Not of the company's success, but of the man you've become." Nathan nodded, his eyes never leaving Emma. "It took me a long time to understand what he was trying to teach me. That success isn't measured by what you have, but by the lives you touch. Some lessons take the right teacher," Rebecca replied with a knowing smile. Later, as music played and people danced, Emma found herself in a quiet moment with Martha. "Did I ever tell you," Martha said, "that I knew Nathan before, when he was just a scared teenager on the streets?" Emma's eyes widened. "No. He mentioned being homeless once, but he never said where." Martha nodded. "He came to the old shelter downtown before Hope Street existed. So thin and proud even then. Would only accept help if he could work for it. Why didn't you say anything when he started coming here?" Emma asked. Martha smiled. "Some stories people need to tell in their own time. Besides, he might not remember me. I was just one of many volunteers. He'd want to know," Emma said. Martha patted her hand. "Then you tell him when the time is right. That's what partners do, help each other connect the dots of their lives." As the party wound down, Emma found Nathan standing alone, looking out at the city through the shelter windows. "Happy?" she asked, slipping her arm through his. "More than I ever thought possible," he replied, kissing her temple. Emma hesitated, then decided Martha was right. "Nathan, Martha told me something interesting tonight. She knew you years ago when you were." "When I was homeless," Nathan finished, looking surprised. "Martha? Our Martha?" He looked across the room at the older woman, recognition dawning in his eyes. "She looks so different, but now that you mention it, she was the one who got me my first real job. At a restaurant downtown, the one that started everything for you," Emma said softly. Nathan shook his head in wonder. Life has a strange way of coming full circle. He looked down at Emma. "Maybe we were always meant to find each other." "Maybe," Emma agreed. "Or maybe we just recognize something in each other, something beneath the surface that most people never bothered to see." Nathan pulled her close. "Either way, I'm never letting you go." As they stood together, planning a future neither could have imagined. A year ago, Emma realized that the greatest journey hadn't been from assistant to executive, or from loneliness to love. It had been the journey to believing she deserved happiness and having the courage to reach for it. Outside the shelter windows, the city lights twinkled like stars, illuminating not just the world they'd helped to improve, but the path they would walk together, a path built on seeing beyond appearances to the truth that lies beneath the surface. The end.